Well, good morning. Oh man, it's good to be back. I was telling my friends here in the front row, I just got back from camp myself with our students at our church. And let me tell you what, I told them, I said, if I just pause for about 15 seconds, just wait for the reset to kick in, and I'll start going again. I mean, we took the largest group that we've ever taken before. This is crazy. It's like ants on a hill. We took 306 students to camp. Just students. That's not even the adult. Now you can imagine the adult manpower that takes. So it was roughly like 465 people went to camp. That is like, I mean, imagine the herding cats, and then imagine that 1,000 times worse. It's like the most feral cats you've ever owned, and none of them are doing what you want them to do, or you can't ever get two of them to do the same thing at the same time. It's fantastic. No, we had a great week. God was good, but you can imagine there's a lot to that. And we had a great week, though. But man, it's a lot. And man, summer started to rear its head up while we were down there a little bit. And so it was hot and humid and all that stuff. What takes it? When you're 47, you'll bounce back what she used to be. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay. Some of you guys are like, "Oh, you whippersnapper." But I'm telling you, I was like, we got home late Friday night. We came home Friday night. We got home about midnight from camp, and Saturday morning I got up, and man, it was like an old cedar chest. We opened the door up, just like, when was the last time? I mean, it was like, woof, I am stiff, and so just good times. All right, so if you have your Bible, open to Psalm 139 today. And I was thinking about this message a little bit while I was at camp, and of course you can imagine when you're at camp, you're kind of unplugged, which is good. We don't allow the students to take cell phones. They're not allowed. That's actually like a big fat no-no, right? Like you cannot have a phone. The adults can have phones to communicate with families back at home, and it's not like they show up at camp to leave on Monday. We're like, surprise, you can't take your phone, right? And so we don't do that. We let them know way in advance, starting in like February. Get your mind right, because in June we are going to take your phone for a week. You cannot have it. And they're all like, they're like fighting through it, right? They're like, okay, 5 days without your phone. And I know, and I made a joke to my daughter last night. I was like, so have you just been on TikTok since you got home, just consuming all the internet right now, trying to get caught up? She's like, no. And I was like, just giving her a hard time. But I was like, it's good. It's kind of a disconnect for them. And I mean, you don't get cell reception down there anyway. It's like pointless anyway. And so, but you can imagine, though, the NBA Finals are going on. Game 5 and Game 6 happened while we were down there. Now, the NBA crowd, we have a lot of kiddos, big NBA fans. And this is what got my wheels turning on this a little bit when I was thinking about Psalm 139 and what we're going to look at today. And giving God in complete access to your life, every corner, every dark and gloomy place, because he knows everything anyway. He knows everything about you anyway. There's nothing about you that he's not intimately aware of, but it's that idea of all access. And I was thinking about, these kids were like, especially on Friday night, Game 6, which they were like, what's the score? Because there was some naughty adults that were checking their phones, during church. They can't help themselves. I'm like, you do it at home, you might as well do it here, And so they were like, and of course, things got out of hand pretty fast on Game 6. And the kids were like, what's the score? We're like, hey, just worship. It's best you worship, because otherwise the enemy is going to get in your brain right here real quick, because it's not going good. All right, and so, or we were like, you need to pray super hard right now. We need divine intervention. And so, of course, Game 7 tonight but it got me thinking about a cool experience I had several years when I was a youth pastor. I was blessed to have some interns over the years to work with me, and I had a young man named Jaime Cuellar from Houston, Texas, and Jaime now is like married and children. He's like a full-on adult and lives back in the Houston area where he's from. He was playing golf on playing small college golf on a scholarship, and I had kind of made friends with a friend of his and knew him, and so he was looking to serve at a church for the summer, and so he did, and he actually ended up serving 2 summers with me. And then he was getting getting a business degree. And at the time, he was like, an opportunity for him to sign up for a internship during the year with the Thunder. They had this college internship program where they could bring these college kids in, and they would get in this NBA exec kind of internship program towards the end of their. And I just stayed in touch with Jaime, and he was a great kid and a great young man. Well, lo and behold, the season going, I don't even know what year this was off the top of my head, but one of his jobs were setting up the invocations, the prayers before the game. And I get a call one day randomly from Jaime. He hadn't worked for me for a few months. And he goes, Mick, I have a really cool opportunity if you're interested. And I was like, what's that? He goes, do you want to pray before one of the Thunder games? And I was like, yeah. It's like, how cool is that? And he goes, obviously, he's like, now, it got weird after that because I had to write my prayer out. I had to submit it to the NBA, all right? Not to the Lord, but to David Stern. And I was like, okay. And so then the NBA emailed me back like 2 days later. It's like, your prayer's approved. I'm like, well, thank you. Thank goodness. Who cares what the Lord thinks, but you say it's okay. Right? And so I was like, all right. So we get through all that. And then as it got, and it was like probably a couple of months out before the game. They told me, he's like, we'll be playing I think we're playing the Phoenix Suns that night. I was like, okay, cool. As we got closer and closer, I started getting like really nervous. Because like the gravity of what I was about to do started to kind of slowly sink in. But it was the fear of the unknown, because I didn't really know, like I'd seen people do it. I was like, but what is it all about? Like, I don't get it. So about 2 weeks out, I get this email, right? And it is like my itinerary, because it was like a 7:00 tip. And I was like, you have to be at the Paycom at 1. I was like, why do I have to be there 6 hours early? And I get 2 tickets, right? I mean, it's like floor seats. I mean, it's like a whole thing, right? It was very cool. And I was like, okay. So we have to go in through the player entrance, special parking, all this other stuff, right? So I'm kind of going through all these things. Well, what I found out was the NBA is just a production. They're just putting on a show every 41 games a night in Oklahoma City. They run through the entire game 3 times before you ever walk in the gym, before you ever walk in the center. They run through everything that falls out of the ceiling, what everybody says, every song that gets played, when Rumble comes out, when Rumble comes in. It's just a stage production, all right? The only thing that really happens that's, quote, unscripted is what happens on the court. Everything else is scripted to the T. So I walked in, I was like, right, and we're talking like, we're not like, hey, we can be off a little bit here. No, it is like, I had a person that was designated to me, right? And they were like, 3, 2, 1, go. Like, that's how it went. So we did the whole like pre-production stuff. I was like, oh, this is cool. So then it would come, so then I get to hang out on the court, and I watch everybody come out, warm up, do all their thing. The only person I couldn't get close to was Kevin Durant. Shocker. And so like, is a diva, and so, but like, back then, Steve Nash was still in the NBA. If you guys know who Steve Nash is, won an MVP, great player. He came out all by himself, and I've never seen a human being shoot so many shots and not miss. It was incredible. He shot for 30 or 40 minutes, never missed a shot. We're talking like from way far away, and it was impressive. That was really cool. But I was like getting this access to an NBA event that like a lot of people don't get. I mean, I'm just like on the court, like from me to you, I'm watching Serge Ibaka do hook shots. And then I'm standing from me to you, I'm watching James Harden just work on his, his flops, right? He's been working on those since he was 20 years old, and so you guys might remember the old Kevin Durant rip through where he'd draw the foul and get the 3-point free throws. He practices that pregame, right? He has a guy that comes out with him, and he does the rip through, and he fouls him, and he goes on up to get the shot. They practice him drawing that foul. Who practices to get fouled? But he did. And I was seeing all of this element of the NBA that I had zero idea that existed. Like, there is nothing that is left to chance, because they have just, the curtain got pulled back a little bit for me. And it was cool, but it was also kind of like, hey, like the mystique of it all was a little different, seeing all that. And then it became game time, and that was like a whole different animal, right? Because now there's 19,000 people in that joint. I've prayed in front of some pretty big crowds. 19K is the largest. All right, and the only thing they did the lights, but they didn't have anybody out on stage, on the court when they did all that. They ran through the light show stuff, pregame and the announcements and all that other stuff. And I had these two young ladies that sang the national anthem in front of me. And then I went out and did the invocation, and then I passed them and they did the national anthem. And so I'm standing at like mid-court. It is jet black. And I've got the thunder about 8 feet to my left and the suns about 8 feet to my right. And they say my name, and I have to go walk. I mean, it was like the big voice guy's like, and now the invocation, my name. And I'm like, I get to mid-court, spotlight, boo. And I'm like, ah! And I was like, now, what helped, I don't recommend this in your prayer life, but I did have it written out on my phone. Because I was scared to death, there was no way I was going to get through this. So I had my phone out, and I was kind of like, dear Lord, glance down, make sure I'm on track, good to go. But I had this incredible experience where I got this all access to the thunder. In an experience I've never had since then, probably will never have again, but it was pretty cool. And they won that night. It was a lot of fun. My wife and I got to have a cool night, cool experience. I mean, the absolute veil pulled back for me in ways that it's hard to explain. And 7 foot is tall, right? Everybody in the NBA, I think, is 7 foot tall. Russell Westbrook, he looked like he was 7 foot tall, and he is not 7 foot tall. But everybody just looks enormous. And I was just like, this is unbelievable. It's just this unfettered access that not a lot of people get. When you look at Psalm 139, the writer of Psalm, David, is like, he is inviting unfettered access into his life. Not a lot of people like that. Not a lot of people are saying, I want every part of my life to be turned and examined by you, God. I want you behind the curtain in every way. I want you in my finances. I want you in my family. I want you in my work. I want you in my school. I want you in every element and facet of my life, God. I want there to be no secrets. I want you to have full-on VIP access to my life. Behind the stage, behind the curtain, strings being pulled, I want you to see it all. Because either he is Lord and Master of our life or he's not. In Psalm 139, it starts with, "O Lord, you have searched me and you have known me. You know me when I sit down. You know when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways." In verse 4, "Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it all together." David is saying, when I rise and when I fall, may the words of my mouth, when he says, when the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, that's the prayer he's praying in another psalm. It's like, you know my words all together. Guide my path when I rise and when I fall, when I stand and when I sit. Search out my path, and you are acquainted with all of my ways. My dad used to always tell me this all the time. My dad was a Vietnam vet, and that's kind of an interesting way to grow up, number one. Number two, because he was a combat vet. And so it was kind of like a very different deal. Man, he loved the Lord, he loved my mom. And he went to be with the Lord a long time ago, but he used to make when I got my driver's license, and I remember my brother's 8 years older than I am, right? So it's like having two only children, right? Because we were so separated apart in age. So like my brother and I are like two, like if you met my brother, you're like, how are you two related? A lot of people say that all the time. I don't ever shut up, I talk all the time. He's like a mute, all right? And so it's like completely different. Man, but I love my brother. We're just different. And and so he used to, and I remember when I was getting close to getting my driver's license, my brother was just newly married, no children like that. I can remember him making jokes like, just wait. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just wait. You get that driver's license. I was like, okay, you get a driver's license. I remember going out, I'm a summer birthday. I remember going out to hang out with some friends. And I had a curfew. I tell my parents, I tell my dad, hey, I'm going to meet with so-and-so and so. And he's like, midnight. He's like, be home by midnight. I'm like, you got it. And he goes, oh, real quick, don't forget one rule. Like, what's that? He's like, don't go anywhere you wouldn't take Jesus or your mother. That's what he always said. Every time I walked out the door, he'd say, don't do anything you wouldn't take Jesus or your mother with. Let me tell you what, teenagers in the room, if there are any left, that'll narrow your scope in a hot minute. All of a sudden, you realize the driveway's about all where you can go. You have the driveway and, like, your youth group. I mean, it was like, you didn't have, and I'm going to tell you what, and this is where the combat vet thing comes, because he's been through a lot, so you're like, he's willing to do some things. All right, and so you're like, oh, okay, I am not going to test the limits on that for fear of retribution. All right, but it became a very powerful thought process in my life. And I remember my brother and I, having these conversations later. He's like, I told you, man, wait till you get that license. It's like he was a newspaper guy. He was the editor and publisher of our local newspaper. And so he had his own police scanner. Guy, this is a true story. He would randomly call his buddies on the police force because they all knew him. He'd be like, hey, if you see Mick or Lance out, just pull them over, check in on them. Like, I got pulled over just for the cops to say, hey, what's up? Just to say hello. It was just like my dad reaching out from wherever he was at and just, boop, hey. It was like that was kind of a unique growing up, all right? And that's when you really, and so when I lie down and when I stand up, it is access to your life. Jesus, if you're going to allow him, you've got to allow him in. And he puts his fingers and he wraps it in your life. He is inviting. David is asking for this. He's not pushing back from it. He's requesting it. He's desiring it. Do you desire that kind of access in your life? Some of us would be like, I don't know. That's hard to admit. Let's jump in a little bit further. It says, you know me behind and before. You lay your hand before me. When you hear in the scriptures the hedge of protection, this is David saying, God, thank you for putting your hand in front of me and your hand behind me, because you are holding me. You are protecting my 12 and my 6. Right? You have both. You have my sides. You have my above and my below. You are in every aspect of my life. You hem me in, verse 5. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot even attain it. And here's the deal. David is like, this is so good. This is so good. I can't even wrap my mind around it. That you would want this kind of relationship with me. This is the God of the universe. Like we've talked before, this is who, in 7 days in the books, in the opening of the Bible, in the first few books of Genesis, the first few verses of Genesis, is building creation. He is hovering above the waters. He is taking void of nothing and he is creating life. He has always been and will always be. He has never not been. And he wants to be in relationship with me. How crazy is that? Right? It's like having the most famous person in the world being your best friend. And he is the most famous person in the world. I don't even know who the most famous person in the world is. But Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. He makes a great movie. It'd be like Tom Cruise being your best friend. Can you just imagine like walking in? It's like, hey, my buddy's running. He's going to be here in a minute. He's running a few minutes late. Right? And Tom Cruise walks in. Everybody's like, whoa, that's your best friend? Yeah. That times infinity is what we're talking about. I don't even know how else to describe it. There's not a word in our language high enough to get there. right? But David is like, this is so good. This is what I want. This is what I desire. I desire that there be nothing hidden from you, God. And because of who you are and the way you are and how you surround my life, it's so high I can't even attain it. It's so lofty, I can't even imagine it. Isn't that crazy to think about? When you really think about how much God really loves you. I'm a parent, got 3 great kids, do 3 great things, and many of you have your own children and your own families. And when I read things like this, and I see what God is willing to do, and how there's nowhere we can escape it. Verse 7 says, where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to the highest of highs, you're there. If I go to the lowest of lows, Sheol, the darkest places I can think of, you're there. If I go to the deepest, darkest recesses of my mind, whether it be depression or anxiety or hurt, you're there. If I am living my best life and it's just everything I do turns to gold, you're there, and everything in between. But I have these amazing children, and I love them, and I would do anything for them. And you think about how much God is willing to do here in Psalm. He would even go on in the New Testament later, and he would say, I love you so much. I want this so much between you and me, that I will send my son to die so that it might happen. You want to know all the proof in the world? I'll lay all the chips down. And I will offer my son as this greatest sacrifice so that this relationship may be true. When I look all throughout the Old Testament, there's these pictures of the Christ, of Jesus all through the New Testament, the Old Testament, obviously. But there's unique pictures in the Old Testament that I see when God shows what he's willing to do and when we are willing to surrender and what that looks like. I look about Abraham and Isaac. When God told him, you got to go sacrifice your son. Guys, and this wasn't like they just walked out the tent and around the corner to the temple and they went and did this. And you have this whole encounter. This was like a 3-day walk. Can you imagine God asking you to do something like that? 1, he asks. 2, you're obedient. And 3, you're going to think about it for 3 days. That's terrible. But Abraham was obedient. And even when you look at the Hebrew, it says that there's something unique that's happening in Isaac as well, the son, because the son, the language, the picture is he crawls up on the altar. He's not resistant to the altar. He goes and gets up on it. It's like he knows the calling that's on his life. God has to scream, Abraham, Abraham. The ram's over there. His horns are caught in the thicket. The sacrifice is there. God loves you so much, and he wants to know you intimately. And he wants to see you be obedient and surrendered to that. It is not easy. I can stand up here, and it's great. Tomorrow, I will struggle with it. I will probably struggle with it 4 hours from now, if not 4 minutes from now. To have this kind of access to my life and this kind of surrendered, prostrate heart that it takes to get here. I will die trying to get here for the rest of my life. In verse 9, if I take wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as day, for darkness is as light to you. You say, even in my darkest place, even the saddest place I could be, even in the lowest of lows, the broken of broken, the what we think is the unredeemable places, he says, you're there. You're absolutely there. Man, David was in some dark spaces in his life. I mean, he's anointed king in 1 Samuel 16, right? Not even invited, right? Samuel comes to Jesse's home. God sends Samuel to Jesse's. Says there, the next king of Israel is there. And Jesse brings every one of his sons, every one of them, except the one. I mean, you want to talk about left out? Holy smokes. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, Jesse probably knows a little bit what's going on. He's rounding up his boys. He's like, hey, God's prophet's coming to bestow something on one of you. And I'm sure there was got to be some sort of like juice about all of that, and they're vibing, and they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. They're fired up. They're excited. But David's like, really? So here's the deal, David. Everyone but you gets to come. And this isn't like a stranger saying, hey, sorry, bro, you're not invited. I just don't have enough seats on the bus. It's your dad saying, not a seat for you on the bus. Somebody's got to take care of the sheep, right? Somebody's got to make sure the business keeps running. David, that's you. Right? Gets left. Not invited. Openly not invited. Not like, oh, we lost it in the mail. Openly not invited. Left behind. So do you think when David says the depths of Sheol, the darkest of dark, you don't think he knows what that means? He absolutely knows what that means. His own father didn't. I mean, and then for Samuel to come and to look at these, I mean, these guys are all like, we're like, yeah, one of us is king, right? And Samuel looks at every single one of them. It says the one God wants is not here. Do you have any sons left? And he was like, yeah, one. We didn't bring him. You left him behind. He has a ruddy complexion, right? He's not great to look at. Samuel says, I want to see him. And they go and send for him, and he comes. And what 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7 says, for the God does not look at the outward appearance, but the inward heart of man. This is the king of Israel. And he anoints him as king. So you think, oh my gosh, he's anointed king. It gets good now, right? Nope, horrible. Gets worse. Now, Saul finds out that David is the armor bearer of the king at war. Now Saul finds out this guy that's supposed to be his right-hand man is now going to be the new king. Saul doesn't love that. So now he begins to hunt David like an animal. He's on the run for years before he takes his throne. So when he says the depths of Sheol and even the darkest of dark, David gets it. He gets it. We've been in those places, but God is there with us too, right? Whether it be terminal illness, financial struggle, family hurts, work hurts, things aren't going great at school, things aren't going right at home. You name the trauma, right? God says, I'll be there with you. I'll crawl down in the dark with you. I'm not going to just hover above and look. No, I'm going to crawl down in there with you. And I will walk through the valley of the shadow of death with you until you come out to worship on the other side. Right? So, as we close, this is where I need you to know just how far back it goes. There's nothing about your life that's a secret. There's nothing about your person, your personality, your thoughts, your actions. None of it is a surprise or an accident. Why? Because of verse 13 and 14. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me in my mother's womb, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Why do we rail at the thought of life being precious? Sometimes I can't get further than Psalm 139, 13, and 14. My pastor at my new church, his name is Connor Bales, Dr. Bales. And we have become friends. God has blessed an opportunity for me to get to know each other a little bit, and we've spent some time together. He's only been here for about a month. Great guy. He's got 5 children. Great kids. He's got a daughter that's a nurse that just graduated. She's like about to graduate from nursing school. He's got a son that's 18 that is going to go play college golf, which is really cool. And then he has 2 daughters that are 16 and 13, and they both have a rare genetic disorder. That it's a trisomy disorder. They are the most fragile disabled you will see. They will never speak. They will never talk. They will never walk. They will never do anything but exist. They're medically fragile beyond belief. And then he has a 10-year-old that's perfect and wonderful. And there were so many people when they found out when they were pregnant with their oldest, the oldest daughter that has the disability, when they found out that she had this genetic marker, and they were like, what do you want to do? He's like, what do you mean, what do we want to do? This is God's plan and will. And so they have this baby who will struggle to live every day of her life. But she is a precious gift to him. And then they get pregnant a 4th time, and it happens again. Back-to-back pregnancies, 3 years apart, with the same genetic disorder. And they're like, what are you going to do? And they're like, what do you mean, what are we going to do? This is the gift that God has given us, right? He formed her inward parts. He made her the way she is and the way she will be. And she'll be a blessing however she will be a blessing. So when they got pregnant with their 5th child, people were like, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? And because life is precious to God. And she's perfect and whole and has no issues. But because of that, he has built some of the most powerful special needs ministries and churches he's ever served in. Because and it has been something that has been a huge blessing to me, because I've worked with some of those fragile in the past. And we have a ministry now called Masterpiece that has already been in place that helps work with special needs students so that they get to have a church experience that is geared for them, and he is passionate about it. And so many people would say, why would you ever? Because even though those girls will struggle every day of their life, and they're medically fragile, and they will not live to be 80 or 90, more than likely. And they know that they will take care of those children the rest of their lives. They will not go probably live somewhere else. They will be with them as long as they physically can, until they can't. But Connor Bales, I know for a fact, because we've had this conversation in great depth, believes Psalm 139, verse 14, I praise you because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Those girls were made exactly the way God wants them to be. And when we want to think about how much access you want to give God, like, I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want God to go there. You know, we say that, I know, I do. Here's the deal. He already knows, right? Sometimes we're so resistant because we think that there is something that we can hide in the darkness. He made you. He knows everything about you. He knows the hairs on your head, the amount of times you'll blink today, the amount of times you'll breathe today, the amount of times your heart will beat today. The thoughts that you think that you will never tell a soul, that they will rattle around in your brain until the day you die, and you'll never utter them once outside of your mouth to anyone. I don't care how close. It might be a spouse, it might be a best friend, it might be a sibling. I don't care. You'll never utter it out loud once because it's a thought inside your head. God knows it intimately. It's not a surprise. It's not a secret. It's not like, ooh, I got it over on him, right? None of that. Why? Because he's your creator. He made you. He wired you. He knows everything about you. He just wants you to let him in. He just wants you to say, hey, I already know everything, so let's know it together, right? Let's have it together. Let me have the access. Let me, wherever it is that you hurt and you struggle. We're really great at being like this. God, I let go, but not that, right? We're really good at that. It's hard to be like that. So when you think about today or tomorrow or wherever, am I giving God all access to my life? When I rise and when I fall, when I stand and when I sit, highest of highs, lowest of lows, wherever I go, he is there. Surrender to that. Find comfort in that. And allow God to minister through that. I promise you, when I've been in spaces, in seasons in my life where I've allowed that kind of access to my life, it's good. I find it calming. Because it's so nice to know that he is in control. And everything about my life has been planned and worked out specifically. I'm going to close with one last story that kind of illustrates this, and we'll be done. A few years ago, so I've been to Disney a bunch of times. Love me or hate me for that. I'm kind of a Disney nerd. I love it. Haven't been in a few years. My brother and my mom and my side of the family wanted to go one time. And remember, so my brother is 8 years older than I am. We're like different animals, right? He loves roller coasters, amusement parks like I do. But like going to Disney is not one of those deals where you just show up on a Monday and say, hey, let's have a good, like, it's a bear. Any Disney fans, anybody been to Disney out there? Do you go to Disney and not plan? Right, go do that one time and see if that's a barrel of monkeys, right? It's like standing in the street and someone just for 5 days hitting you with a fire hose, right? I mean, it's like, and you're not moving, and you're just standing there and taking it, right? It's like, that's what doing Disney Unplanned is like. So my brother decides to come, and it's like we decide in the fall, we're going in the summer, all right? The Bowling Box are anti-summer Disney folks, just FYI, because they can't do the heat. I get it. All right, we always go in the summer. Tammy always makes the joke. She's like, if we ever go to Disney, we're doing it in like December. I was like, okay. All right, so we go summer. It's hot, it's humid, it's all the things, right? In Florida, it's a hot mess. But I started planning. I mean, we decide in like September, October we're going. In like November, I'm like doing things. I'm going. Like I'm starting to plan things. I'm like calling my brother for stuff and this one thing and the other. And he's like, why are you asking all of this like 9 months before we go? I was like, Lance, if we don't start getting this stuff now, like it will be overwhelming. Like it has to be done. He's like, okay. So I plan. I'm doing all the things and making the reservations and doing all the fast pass and I'm doing all this and that and the other, right? January, I'm doing stuff. March, I'm doing boom, boom, boom. So we take off, we go, we land, we get first day at Disney, and I'm like, I've got it like, I mean, I got the schedule. This is what we're doing, right? And we get through the first day. We have a great trip. It was an awesome trip. We had a lot of fun. We get back, and my brother does not admit anything to me ever that I have ever done something that has benefited him, right? I mean, that would show weakness and a chink in the armor or something. And we were hanging out, and we were at some family deal, and he was there, and we were talking. Everybody's asking about our trip and how much fun it was, blah, blah, blah. And my brother literally was like, I don't know how anyone could go to that place without all of that. That would just be crazy. Without all of that planning, like how could you? I was like, I'm telling you, man. It's the only way to do it. I find so much peace in knowing that my days are numbered. That may scare people. It doesn't scare me that much. Because I know they are numbered, and they are planned, and they are organized, and they are already orchestrated. And they have been for an eternity. Because remember, his hand has always been behind me, and it's always been in front of me. I find great peace in that. Right? The beauty of it just being mapped out, and us just surrendering, God, I'm going to give you access. It's like we talked about a couple weeks ago. We used to have road maps in our glove boxes. Right? Remember those? They're probably in museums now. But you know what? All we can do, we can type in an address on our phone, and you can have him read it to you. He can be a British man or a Southern woman or whoever you want it read to you, however you want it spoken to you. You can have the directions turn by turn mapped out perfectly, end up right where you're supposed to be. We can all just drive around like adventurers and Magellans. We can just find wherever we go because the phone does it for us, right? There's some beauty in knowing. Now, some of us fellas are like, I know where I'm going, right? And so, but here's the deal. There's beauty in it being mapped out and planned. You surrender. You're like, I'm okay with that. It knows. You're okay with your phone getting you there, right? You allow God to get you there. You allow him to access to your contacts and your files. He'll get you where you need to go. Why? Because he already knows it anyway. He already formed you. He knows everything about you. Why don't you just give me access? All right? If this is easier for you, Carrie Underwood said it best. Jesus, what? Take the wheel. Right?